June 10th, just one day after Russell had beaten Hamilton to the last podium in Canada, an anonymous person sent out an email. The recipients were key figures like team principals, the media, and top members of the Formula One community. Coincidentally, these people were also the exact recipients of the Horner sex leak. Tiny snippets of the email soon filled the internet, but today we have the entire content for you. Our source is the founder of Grand Prix 24/7, Paul Velasco. One of the original recipients had forwarded him the email, but while Paul tried his best to blur the content, we still managed to shave off some info for you. It was titled Mercedes Sabotage Email. This is the full text. Some of us in the team are unhappy about the systematic sabotaging of Lewis, his car, his tyre strategy, his race strategy, his mental health, and the unprofessional way Toto, lover boy George, and others are mistreating him. Toto is vindictive and is like a scorned wife no longer speaking with Lewis, but is doing everything possible to get back at him. Lewis is excluded and some underhanded things are going on that people need to be aware of. Ask the questions and the truth will out. It is all in the data and is recorded. With the exception of Bono, and those of us who love Lewis, others are on a dangerous course that could ultimately be life-threatening to Lewis, other drivers, and even the public. A cold tyre strategy is a death warrant. Toto, George, beware and be correct. Not all of us are prepared to be a part of your unfair, unprofessional destruction of Lewis for your own self-gratification. From our assessment, the most evil allegation of the bunch is that Mercedes are fitting cold tyres on Hamilton's car. Warm rubber has a lot more grip than cold rubber. To keep the tyres warm, tyre blankets are only allowed to heat the tyres up to 80 degrees Celsius. Since Pirelli has designed the tyres to have an optimal working temperature of 100 degrees, drivers have to zigzag across the track during a formation lap to heat them further. In a game of fine margins, all it takes to slow down Hamilton is to heat the tyre to only 70 degrees, and that is enough to ensure he finishes behind Russell. But our task for today is to zero in on the person who sent out the email. According to some sources, Mercedes has the highest staff strength at 1,200 people. The easy part is that whoever sent this email is 100% a Mercedes staff who is pro-Hamilton, since top members of a team must sign non-disclosure agreements to prevent leaks like this. It is unlikely that someone higher up like their CTO, James Allison, or outgoing performance director, Loic Serra, sent the email. These guys are sworn to secrecy, and quite frankly, this looks like an emotional text written by a fan of Hamilton. On the other end of the scale, staff like the cooks, security, motorhome assembly guys, driver's press officer, and marketing people would not know that much. This narrows down two groups of people, those who help him win on track, and those who keep him sane off track. In an F1 setup, the people who work closely with a particular driver and car are the mechanics, race strategists, data analysts, and the pit crew. Anybody in this group will know exactly how the team is sabotaging a driver because, quite frankly, they are the ones who will carry out the sabotage. Since the email specifically mentioned recorded data, we can beam our lights on the data analysts and strategists. What you would know is that these guys are in the garage on a race weekend, but what you might not know is that a second set of analysts are located thousands of miles away in the factory. When the data analyst and strategists get live data on track, they transmit that data far away to the folks at the factory. The guys at the factory are the ones who will feed this data into a simulator and transmit their findings back to those at the paddock. While they are not physically on ground, if there is a sabotage, they would know. On race weekends, Ferrari and Red Bull run simulations on all 20 cars to help them figure out the gaps, and these engineers are all back in the factory. The other group of people are those who know the mind of a driver even though they do not have much access to the team. Hamilton's personal trainer, his mind coach, agent, and family members would know. On a lighter note, since Hamilton's dog, Roscoe, has more paddock passes than I can ever dream of, that dog must have heard a lot of things. The verdict is still out if it was Roscoe that sent out the emails. Hamilton has signed for Ferrari, and it only makes sense that the team would exclude him from certain information and meetings. They can't be telling him the directions they are going to take from next season, and Russell has been given priority for upgrades. Perhaps they felt they had to demote Hamilton and project Russell as the new face of the team. Sponsors put their money on the team because of the massive following of Hamilton, and it would be within their rights to call for a contract review since he is no longer there. Mercedes would try to defend their position and say that Russell is the better driver. For what it's worth, after the leak, Hamilton has suddenly gotten his first podium of the season. Some have argued that it looks quite suspicious. The team will need to perform a security audit to figure out if someone in their camp leaked this email. Toto has called in the police to find the culprit. He seems to be more interested in the person who sent the email rather than whether the allegations were true or not. We would like to hear your thoughts in the comments. This is Front Lockout, signing off.